Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Iberian and this is Crusader Kings 2 and you are watching the time-lapse for the end of the playthrough of the Muslim Resurgence. I believe that is what the term was. Now this time-lapse is pretty interesting because I let it run for, I want to say like 150, maybe 200 years, not entirely certain. A lot of things happened and I gave out lucky ruler bonuses to the Alabadi dynasty, to Navarro of course, to Bavaria, to Lietuvas, to Suomi, and to the Al-Fatimi dynasty. What I was really hoping for, and there are, when I say this, there is a bit of a spoiler here I guess, I really was hoping for that, we would see the Crusade here for the Byzantine Empire. It sadly never happened. We saw multiple other crusades. In fact, we saw a crusade at the end of it that was essentially ruining the entire thing, but see for yourself when we get there. I will tell you that this playthrough was one of the more fun ones when it comes to the actual action that we saw, because fighting in the Iberian Peninsula and around it is always a lot of fun with all those religions and cultures that you are encountering. Although, of course, I will say I'm fairly disappointed that with none of the characters that we played, none of the 3 characters that we played, we did get the event for the handgun. Now that was something of course that I was looking forward to. I think that was something, that at the end of the day we all were looking forward to. And you can see the Alabadi Imara blobbing here, left and right, making it so that, they are in control. The Phrygia declaring independence in an independence war, but you will soon see, whether they will prevail. And I gotta tell you, I already know the answer. What I found very interesting in this one was that essentially Navarro went further north. Now, Navarro was of course a lucky ruler, but they went further north into Aquitaine and kind of, were fleeing from the impending doom coming from the south, from the Alabadi Imara. Now, as you will see here, there's a lot of chaos going on. Lietuva is very, very strong. The Al-Fatimi dynasty is kind of rebounding, taking Arabia back. Beyond that, of course, the Alabadi Imara, as of right now, in, shambles. But I gotta tell you, I was very impressed by... Oh, and also, before I forget it, Ede, of course. Ede also got a lucky ruler, but honestly, probably the most disappointing of all of them. And the way I see it, the Alabadi Imara actually, was able to hold on to their belongings primarily, and we are now at 1130, so quite deep in, and you can see that they have fallen apart, but will they fall apart long term? Now that is a question that I'm not going to answer right away. Suomi is of course blobbing beautifully, and the Mongols even still exist in their current form, which is surprising, seeing as they usually, already splinter. They splinter so fast, but not in this case, I guess. And there you can see the Alabadi Imara coming to take back what once belonged to them. Now I will be honest with you, I don't exactly know what happened with the Alabadi Imara and the Phrygia there. I think it may have been a death, but I can't really tell you. All I know is that they were, able to retake it all. They were able to hold everything in Iberia, and this pretty much explains, at least in my opinion, look at Khan and blobbing big there, and this at least explains why Navarro was allowed to exist for such a long time. Even now in 1139, nothing has changed in the Iberian border, although the Alabadi Imara is recovering everything that they have lost. And I can tell you without showing it later, I can tell you that essentially what we're looking at is a couple of really great rulers. We had our ruler, of course, Yadatala, how could you forget him? And right after him, I can't remember his name, but he was also named the Great. Now after him, there was one named the Unready, and you can see, it kind of went a bit shady from there on out, nowhere near the greatness that we had achieved, when we were still playing, and that then the AI achieved when they retook everything. And look at that, they are fending off this rebellion as gloriously as they can. They have taken deep land, or land deep into the Sahara. Big fan of that, of course. And the Golden Horde and the Ilkhanate, of course, now 2 new regional powers. But the Ilkhanate, and I can say that right away, because obviously they are under the pressure of the Al-Fatimi dynasty, the Ilkhanate never really rose up to the strengths that, they could have had over time here. Now what you will see several times is essentially a crusade for Jerusalem, I believe, and then a crusade for Egypt as well. Not immediately, right now, of course, but essentially we had very harsh fighting by the Christians for the Holy Land and for Egypt, which is why I hoped, maybe at some point we might see the beauty that is the Latin Empire, but we never got lucky enough to actually see that. And I think it is quite obvious that we got some power, centrals over here. We have Lietuva, of course, still, Lietuva still running around, Suomi, Ede, Al-Fatimi dynasty back on track, back on course to world dominance. Although at that point, of course, the Al-Fatimi dynasty actually was no longer the Ismaili Caliphate, but that happened already, while we still played. We're now in 1157, while we still played. And the interesting part about that to me was essentially that the Al-Fatimi dynasty rose up, kind of rose up to the occasion when it comes to reclaiming their land, but they never unified the Caliphedom or the Caliphate. Both are valid terms at any point, and honestly, it fell in the hands at the end of the day to some, I want to say it wasn't the Hashimis, it was like a related family. I mean, they're obviously all related, otherwise they couldn't become the Caliph, but Interestingly enough, it was no longer in the hands of the Fatimids, and now the Alabidi dynasty finally in full control of all their lands that they had, you know, when we handed this game over to the AI. It is always nice to see when an empire actually holds. Kiev now split off of Lietuva. I don't actually know the background there, but I believe that it was simply Gavelkind, as it always is, isn't it? And Navarro now eating up all of Aquitaine. I mean, that is just beautiful. The way they do that is really, really nice, because they are losing land. Of course, they, you know, lost much of Aragon, some of Catalonia, and yet they're holding. Yet they are exactly where they need to be to hold on. And Kanem, of course, as well in Central Africa, holding their position and being fairly strong. I gotta tell you, I was quite impressed when I saw it originally. Now, this playthrough wasn't the best that we have done in the year 2019, but I gotta tell you, it is one of the better ones when it comes to simply having a playthrough of interesting characters, of characters that, you know, are their own personality. Oh, and there falls the north of Iberia. But I gotta tell you, you know, we had some highlights. I started this year at 500 subscribers, and now we are at 15,000 and something. I gotta tell you, it is insane. Absolute insanity to look at these numbers and to see how everything has developed. I'm going to start a bit of a quality attack, a quality assault, you could say, in 2020. We're going to ramp this up, and I hope that I can, you know, bring even better quality. And yeah, now Aquitaine is finally Aquitaine, Navarra, and Aquitaine, I think, are now under the same crown, and Aquitaine is the last thing that still remains there. But Alabadi dynasty holding strong after their initial, you know, downfall. They were able to pull it around and actually carry on, as well as, of course, the Holy Roman Empire, which is something that I noticed later on, that Bavaria was elected to be the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, despite not being de facto a member of it. And after the king of Bavaria died, he didn't take the lucky ruler with him in a dynastic kind of inheritance. It was the ruler of the Holy Roman Empire. So from here on out, every single Holy Roman Emperor is a blessed ruler. So that is a bit difficult to counteract, I think, and that, you know, kind of does explain why the Holy Roman Empire was able to unite much of Hungary under their rule. But, you know, you can't blame him. It looks better than it was beforehand anyway. And there you see a fairly strong Egypt and a fairly strong Jerusalem as well. But you should keep an eye on that, because you will probably be surprised when it comes to those borders. Now, beyond that, of course, you know, this world fairly interesting, but I think we've had better ones. I personally really enjoyed Sea Kings. If you haven't seen it, I would advise you to watch it if you have any interest in these sort of playthroughs. Sea Kings, also an HIP, but it was a super exciting playthrough. Beyond that, I really enjoyed Northeast as well. I think they called it Desert Vikings, I want to say. Very, very exciting playthrough, that one. And we even played it a bit in a stream, I think. And there you go. Most of Iberia now in the hands of the Alabadi Imara. That is what we want to see here, I think. That is exactly what we want to see here. Now, with that being said, I think there's much to look forward to in 2020 when it comes to, you know, proper playthroughs. I will focus a bit more, I think, on edited content. I know that many of you are here for the edited content, and I'm very interested in it. But beyond that, I think that I will keep one episode every day, you know, 365 days of the year. And I don't even know, you know what, let me actually check. 365 days is what I say, but I don't even know. Is this a... Oh, this is a leap year. 366 days of the year. There you go. I see. I knew something was off, but there you go. 366 days of the year, we will have one episode every day. At least I hope to keep that up, you know. But beyond that, we're going to focus a bit more on edited content, on CK2 content, on Knights of Honor 2 content. Very excited for that. On CK3 content, of course, and whatever medieval games are out there. I know there's some others coming, but let's not talk about that. Let's instead talk about the immense power that the Alabadi Imara all of a sudden holds down here in North Africa. Good lord. Yeah, they expanded primarily over there just because it was so much easier, I suppose. At the end of the day, you know, that is mostly how the expansion goes. And excuse me, I gotta mute myself here for a second. That is mostly how the expansion goes, and I don't know actually what happened to Kanem and Hauserland. I can only assume that there was some sort of inheritance. You can see Kanem in the bottom. Don't actually know what that means and what they meant by this. Beyond that, the Ilkhanate, of course, has fallen primarily to the Khorasan leaders. You can see that Khorasan holds the north, then Center Persia and Iraq are held by the Ilkhanate, and I forgot their actual dynasty name, but they have created a tributary state with one of those people in the Arabian Peninsula. I can't remember. And Lyon is actually popping up again. Man, that was wild to see. You can also see some France, or is it Aquitaine in England? So some very blobby stuff going on there. And I actually like, and I will say it, I will be brave enough to say it, I like the Holy Roman Empire sitting there. We're in 1217 now. And I like the Holy Roman Empire sitting there as fat as it is, because essentially they had to give up Italy very, very early on, right? And instead, they just added Hungary, Slovakia, parts of Poland, Croatia. Well, Croatia actually quite the opposite. Croatia added parts of Hungary to Croatia. But I like those borders, you know, it isn't the most beautiful borders, but at the end of the day, you know, it's kind of like the compromise. It's like the German Empire plus Austria-Hungary. I love that. It has a bit of a sound to it, doesn't it? Now, as you can see, Misere is under attack, and you will, I think, in a couple of seconds see what exactly is up with that. Nope, it does not appear that you will. I swear, something will happen there. I can't guarantee it, but something will happen there. And something will happen in Iberia as well, but I don't want to spoil it, because that is just disgusting. And I think when I say that, you all already know what exactly it is. Now, I hope that you all enjoyed this playthrough. You know, it was a very long one compared to many others. I'm honestly not too sure what I'm going to kick 2020 off when it comes to playthroughs. I have a lot of ideas when it comes to edited videos. I did a content sprint in November, then I did one in early December as well, but I've been resting, you know, mid-December until now. And then in January, I will go full gear. I will continue doing more edited content, more streams, all that sort of good stuff. And I gotta tell you, I'm very excited for that, but I don't know what the first, you know, unedited playthrough 2020 will actually be. As you can see though, Suomi is holding on, as is Vladimir, which was also a blessed ruler. I just remembered that actually. They were a blessed ruler as well. Khorasan, they're taking over all of the Ilkhanate and the Al-Jarahi dynasty, that is what it is. And what is so interesting about this to me here is that essentially Misere tumbled under its own weight. It was a Crusader state, and then they just decided, you know what, screw this, we're gonna just inherit wildly. Everyone inherited away, and all of a sudden the Muslims came back. Look at the Kamlid dynasty, look at the Al-Jarahi dynasty holding it together and actually being able to push into the Holy Land, and of course also Egypt itself. Now, there are some interesting tidbits here that we will see in some screenshots once this time lapse ends. I want to say in 1247. It's not that long from here on out, but you will, you know, see the horror screenshot, just like the last 2 seconds of this time lapse. And then we're going to move into the culture and religion map mode. Now, with that being said, I already want to thank the members of the channel, namely, of course, the Barons Aaron, Stefan, the Ritters T, and Snywolf, then the Counts, MR Marmello, I'm Deadpool, Kiamalik 2, and Suspicious Duck, and the wonderful Dukes, last but not least, Nathan, Herman, Knight of Squires, Kenneth, Eric, Lexo, Benedict, and Roberman 780. And as you can see here, Nabaweed became the majority religion of the Islamic faith. The culture is nothing too interesting, but the Kingdom of Jerusalem entirely under the hands of the Carlings. I'll see you later, alligator.